Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our Transitioning Together workshop on building respectful relationships and a guide to intimacy and personal boundaries. My name is Maria Barber. I work for the Nevada Center for Excellence in Disabilities. We support families and youth with special health care needs to navigate the complex systems here in Nevada. The Family Navigation Network receives support from our funders, Nevada State Department of Health and Human Services, and the Maternal Child Health Bureau. I personally have lived in the community for 25 years. I have an 18-year-old daughter with cerebral palsy. So I live transition every day, which is where this all stemmed from. Anyway, I know how important this is for families and that we're just missing that education piece of how we navigate this time in our family's life, really. So decided to create a series of workshops that focus on open forum discussion and getting all of our questions answered. And we've got the people here, the days of the workshops where we can just make that happen without leaving and saying, oh, wait, I have so many questions, where do I even start? So we're trying to mitigate that, as I have been to, I don't know, 50 of those kinds of speaking events. So today we're talking about relationships and the complexities that come along with relationships and disabilities. This is an open forum format. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, please raise your hand. On the chat, we have Kamala Downs, who's going to be our moderator. So if you have a question, raise your hand on the chat or type it, or raise your hand on Zoom or type it in the chat, and Kamala will make sure that your question gets answered. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Anna Treacy. She is our speaker today about relationships, intimacy, and boundaries. Following her, we will take a little break, and then Mary Bryant and Kaylin Kelderman will speak to us about actual life experience in relationship. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be here. This is actually why I do what I do. This is probably one of the most important and actually dear to my heart spaces to be able to share some of the access that I've been able to find during the many laboring hours of trying to get letters after my name. And the whole point of it was and is to provide more power through knowledge to everyone that may not have the same access. And that is one of the big limiting factors with understanding relationships, communication, boundaries, and the full spectrum of holistic healthcare for you. So I'm really happy to be here. Okay. We do have a PowerPoint as a guide. And one of the things that I want to emphasize as we move through this PowerPoint, this is really quite a bit of information that is the tip of the iceberg. And you'll have a QR code that you can take a picture of for access to. Gonna have to give me about a week, guys, because I just decided to jump into creating a business which is multi-tiered into access that is free for all of you with YouTube videos and major ways that you can, by category of need and ways that you would like to access the information with a description, will be at your fingertips. Okay, so there will be a website available to you with, I hope, a guide as to what you want to actually explore more of and how you'd like to explore that, whether in what format. I would love to have as many suggestions as possible coming down to the future. You'll have my email. You can directly ask me questions. And I look forward to also having a very interactive time with you right now.
I think just use the arrow key left, right.
It's not doing it. Oh, there we go. It did it. Yay. I'm so excited. Okay. That's always helpful. So the objectives on my end, but I want to know your objectives as we move through. Yeah. I'm not going to read the slides here necessarily. You'll have them. Essentially, why am I here? We went over that a bit. What is the clear understanding of respectful relationships? What does it mean to be in a respectful relationship? What are boundaries? How do we set up boundaries? How does intimacy come in play in that? We have a very interesting assumption about intimacy, but really intimacy involves every layer of interaction and connection in our life. There's, depending on who you ask, as far as the people who really dive into the subject of intimacy, there's 8 to 12 different types of intimacy. That includes any type of connection that you have in the realm of the world, whether it be somebody you want to have a partnership with, that's, or somebody who's your best friend, or perhaps a colleague, your family, other different layers. The sexual health education is a piece of this that we'll be embedding into the topic, and there'll be a lot of resources available for you to follow through with any more knowledge you want on those particular topics. The access to knowledge for people with disabilities is one of the essential components for having self-determination. We'll go through what that looks like and some of the barriers there. So awareness building, this is, I can't emphasize this enough. I have to work on my self-awareness for the rest of my life. It's gross. I mess up in communication every day. And I would say that many people in the realm of humanity do. We tend to assume that we're good communicators, and truly we all can grow in this space of communication. That is an essential point in the building of respectful relationships, is your own self-awareness, your own understanding of where you're coming from within yourself, of what you want to convey. What do I want to convey in any moment? The understanding of that will lead you to the ability to understand, what do I want to know more of? What do I want from this relationship? Who do I want close to me? Who don't I want close to me? Really being able to help you and help the people around you advocate for you, support you in the ways that are okay for you, and having the equity to that space and knowledge. The other side of the awareness building is really the knowledge piece. And so you have that sort of logical brain, and then the emotional side, the creative spaces that we have to get with, oh my gosh, my partner just said that. How am I going to react? What part of me is going to lead? So the communication and support really is looking at the enhancement of our skills. This is a lifelong journey that we're all on anyway. So I'm just inviting you into the space of, obviously you're already interested in it, right? You're wanting to, how do we do this? How do we invite what we want in and set boundaries and protections for what we don't? So this is just a little me. A lot of people refer to me as Dr. Treacy, but please call me Anna. It's a thing that I tend to answer to a little quicker. That's why, it's a funny side story. My daughter was oldest, she's 17 now. First, I don't know, months of talking, and my sister was around, and I heard, and she was hearing mom, 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 and my daughter was calling me mom. It just took me a little second to adapt to being that mom. I knew I was a mom, but then my child was calling me mom, and so Anna's the quickest way to. She doesn't have to call me that. I respond to mom now too. It was a learning curve, but the little tiny, well, I don't know if they're that tiny, but hopefully you can see them. This is just an example of ways that we tend to avoid intimacy, or can get into patterns that we don't even know that we're avoiding intimacy. So you have your phone, right? And this insane access to information really it can be a really interesting space, because it can be a bridge to intimacy and respectful relationships, depending on how we use it. Absolutely. I mean, I can't believe that I can call and FaceTime with my friend in Germany. What? That's so cool. And it can be an absolute deterrent to being able to understand how to be close to a person. So I like this little clip up here of the kids in the playground playing tag on their phone. You're it, right? It's a It's a thing. I think a lot of people, I go into restaurants sometimes and I see people all on their phones at the tables, right? So there's some invitations there of maybe thinking about what are the spaces of actual connection that you're having when you're in the same room as another person. How do you want to use your phone for the benefit of respectful relationships? How do the people around you feel when you're distracted by something versus actually paying 100% attention or trying to? Yeah, I say 100%. Well, even off our phones, it's probably about, on a good day, 60. So, all right, so this is just another little thing about, not now, I'm cooking to avoid intimacy. A lot of times it's just exhausting to try to communicate. So just like, please, no, I don't want to deal with this or have to worry about it. That's a diving in for all of us of where do we actually want to be in our relationships with others, and how can we promote our own well-being and the well-being of those that we care about, and also ensuring that we pay attention to the red flags and set up spaces of knowledge around us and protection around us, to understand, hey, this is actually probably a good deal to know so that I can practice it. And even then, the world is, what is that quote? It's scary and full of dangers. That's a good quote. But you get what I'm saying. There is a lot about out there that is very dangerous, and to be able to protect ourselves is very important. But my goal here is to not only include the essential pieces of knowledge for safety and protection, but also the essential pieces of knowledge, boundary setting, and emotional awareness and self-awareness so that you can enjoy your relationships. You can have fun and feel safe. That's a goal, right? Underneath it all, we have a foundation of safety so that you can be able to be sometimes joyful and happy and be around who you want to be around. This is where I'm working on it. Chess is what I'm creating. It's the Center for Health Education and Safety and Sexual Health and Sexuality. That is not set up yet, but that will be set up by the end of the week. So I'm just getting all of the government side done. So I'm excited. You'll have access to a lot of information. I'm hoping to do it in a way that will be very like diagrams. Don't just you click and you're like, okay, here we go. This is the little road I want to follow. So I'm pleased, I guess, as this is interactive, so anytime you want to interrupt or you're like, hey, let's have this conversation, or can you make sure you touch on this? I would love to hear about that. I will be going through a few definitions. What is some of the differences between respect, toxic, and hurt feelings? And one of the things that I deal with the most in the different contract works that I do. So I work at Thrive Wellness of Reno, and I teach groups there on this very topic, but also many different spaces of how do we become empowered and face our own phobias and get through those places of a very hard, pretty much bringing therapy into action is what I do there. But hurt feelings and toxicity can have the space of flowing, and sometimes we build walls where we need boundaries, and that's an interesting space. And then there's a space where we're not realizing that there's a toxic relationship. We're giving respect where we don't need to be giving respect. We need to be getting out of that. So it's just good to kind of root ourselves in there almost daily, on the daily, to like see what are the patterns of behaviors in my life and in the people's lives around me. The prevention and intervention is spaces I've touched on already. That's the knowledge and then the action you take with that knowledge. The barriers are out there. There are many barriers to access to this information for every single human on the planet. As your space of disability increases, you have less and less access, which is very disturbing because we go through that as we go through.
I have a question. This is
Yeah.
Kamala.
Hi, Kamala.
Hi, I have a question. My 23-year-old is, she has level 2 autism, a chromosome deletion, and mild intellectual disability. So she is, she understands what's going on, and my difficulty in this, your mention of respect, toxic versus hurt feelings. she struggles with this so much, but is not open to information from me to help her with these relationships that they have. Some of them are just online relationships, and some of them are her chromosome 18 peers that are all over the country that she communicates through social media with. Now she will ask my opinion and like, what should I do? And she's in therapy, and the therapist helps her with it too. But do you have some information that is presented in such a way that she would be receptive to receiving that information to help her understand these things in
I
regards to the toxic respect, toxic and hurt feelings and boundaries?
So there's various ways that we can go about this. You're not alone. As a parent, there's tends to be these different difficulties, right? As we know, as far as teaching our children. You said that there's spaces online where she has friendships. So there's actually people in their 20s that have TikTok accounts and YouTube videos on this very topic. So it might be interesting to see if that's something that she could respond to as far
Yeah,
as.
I think she does that. I mean, she is like huge, like looking for information and researching, but some of the information she gets is like, nonsense, right?
Okay.
So yeah, but she does do that. She's very good at looking into things and trying to figure it out on her own.
So I would love to be able to send you some information and maybe
Oh,
some
that'd be great.
different things,
Yep.
if that's
I'm
okay.
sure,
So if I
I'm
can
sure
get you
that,
contact information, that
yeah.
would be great. Like just different
And-
ideas, because there's
Yeah.
lots of different routes to this, from talking from the YouTube to if she seems to respond better to like video type interactions,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then you want the accurate information, just like you're saying, because there's
Yes.
a lot of validating the invalid out there.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
She'd be like, you're being toxic. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I am just like,
Like, wait,
I'm
you
telling
jumped like
you that
you jumped 10 floors from where I thought we were.
I know. Just like I'm telling her, can you please be quiet after this time of night so I can go to sleep? Well, I'm being toxic. Well, and controlling. So yeah. So she gets some information, I think, that is not correct.
Oh yes, and as soon as we get the words right, it's the extreme version of things. Yes, I would love to be able to provide more
Yeah.
information.
Great. And I'm sure that, yeah, we can do this through Maria or whoever's contact information you have, because I bet there's some other parents on here that might want that information too.
I'm wondering if there's a way that we can even do it so that it's open access for everyone. That way people can have, hey, this is a
Yep.
question that came up and here's some resources, specific
Yep.
situation. And
Yep.
and looking at different, because there are, fortunately, over the last 10 years especially, but over the last 15, we've had a whole community of people dive into the specificity of, hey, how can we differentiate this for this particular type of mind, right? So there's some really cool information and ways to access that is above and beyond what a school system would be able to do, just because of the barriers they have with liability.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's lots of different, it's really exciting actually. So yeah, yes.
Yeah, we're all three neurodivergent. That's my other kid too. But we're all three, but we're very open and we'll share what we think and what we feel. So I think we have that going for us.
You do. That's like half the battle. Let's just like get it all out and then we'll figure out how to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
That's really, but you bring up a huge point, because it is very, it's very, very tough when we feeling like, hey, somebody's not listening to me, and then we are hearing me, or we're feeling unheard, or especially mom. Okay, like it's a thing. It's just a thing. Like I really thought I was doing pretty good with all my knowledge and skills, and then I have 3 teenagers, so I have 2 of them that are neurodivergent. I as well am, and we sort of like hit a walls, and I'm like, pretty sure this is not supposed to happen this way. But I guess maybe I was having fantastical expectations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Same here.
Yeah.
But I got educated. Yeah. My kids educated me on that. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not how it works, you know? And
Yeah.
and I took that opportunity to educate myself and unlearn the frankly bullshit that I was raised with. So
You bring up a good point there too, because we tend to parent how we were parented because we're alive. So I mean, if we don't challenge that, so it was successful, right? It's just
yes.
that's a hindbrain type thing. We just repeat kind of how the way that
Yeah.
we've done, unless we challenge that in a way of, oh, wait a second, that didn't work out so well for me. I think I do, you know, it's like I call them popping bubbles of ignorance, and I pop them all the time.
Ooh, I like that
Or a kid
phrase.
pop them like, "Help," and they know that phrase. So, ooh, do they use it? Mom, you got a bubble of ignorance. Yeah, pop it. Nah, not another one. Not
Yeah,
just
I mean, they lurk in the darkness and then they just come to the surface every once in a while. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Yeah.
100%. Didn't we address this last week? I don't know. It's ongoing. I feel you. Um, so there are quite a few different resources for support out there. So, uh, and they are open access. I'm not talking anything that is above and beyond in the realm of, I think that the biggest thing is being able to get on the internet and then use it wisely. But the spaces to of increasing. So I have a very open idea about therapy. I know there's different people that have different spaces about it. We can get into this as we move through. But to me, therapy is, when you go to therapy, you're learning things about how to communicate that maybe you didn't know you didn't know. It's like learning how to do the communication thing and learning to do it specifically in your relationships and your families. Because even if you grew up next door to somebody, it's highly likely you speak a different language about something. You know, and I mean that in a metaphorical space. Yes, you might still both be speaking English, but you might actually have such different ways of handling a conflict situation that you're not on the same page at all. Like you're in two different planets. So it's how do we get into the space where we can bridge without hurting each other more? Because that's something that can happen pretty easy, or distancing ourselves or not being heard. So there's lots of these spaces. So I'm excited. I love that. I think that that's a huge topic, Camilla, that is necessary for every family. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she has one of her peers, they're the same age. They're both 23 and they both have 18p minus. And I don't know if her friend has been diagnosed with autism or not, but they just go round and I mean, they dated for a while during the pandemic online, right? Because she's on the other side of the United States. And they I don't know what it is, but you know, they just have all this drama every once in a while. Um, and I
Yes.
would love to be able to help them not have that because they care about each other.
Yes. I think that getting as many skills as possible in ways that we can truly apply them. So a lot of people talk at us about skills versus not, but not necessarily ensuring that we actually have them, right? So I think that there's a big gap there. So being able to, how do you actually practice this skill? That's something that we are severely lacking in our whole entire society. And what you just brought up, I mean, that's the goal in my own relationship. So, we have, you know, like with my partner, every once in a while, I'll be like, we've been doing things a long time, lots of therapy, and every once in a while we get upset. There's a lot of drama, and then I'm like, what was that about? And he was like, we were in our 3-year-old brains. We try not to talk in our 3-year-old brains, so that's a problem that can, that I think can be hard to avoid when you're just living with each other, but also in your relationship.
Yeah.
But just acknowledging and understanding that actually when we do get upset or very anxious or our
Mhm.
feelings get hurt, we have less access to all of this part of our brain and we go back to survival mode. So we can have tantrums, any one of us, pretty easily when we're hurt or mad, saying things we don't mean, doing things we don't mean. And that's all in the space of trying to protect ourselves. But
Mhm.
and it's that space is all like
Yeah.
counting to 10, taking a break, both of you, everybody in the room understanding that I
Yeah.
want to continue this relationship. I don't
Yeah.
want to stonewall you. Stonewalling is when you are upset with somebody and you're knowing that you need a timeout, so you just take it, but you don't communicate to the person that
Right.
you need it, right?
Yes.
So they get afraid
Yes.
that you're ending the
Mhm.
relationship. So
That's
that can
that's
be as
exactly,
effective
yeah.
as yelling
That's
at
exactly what has just happened with them. I'll say one more thing, and then I don't mean to hijack things here. So yeah, I've taught her to be open and share, stuff. And so her friend will like ask her what she wants for her birthday, but then send her whatever, she will choose stuff that's not stuff that she said she wanted. And so this time she spoke up and said, I like what you sent me, but, I'm confused because I said, I wanted this, something like that. Well, she got offended, and so like it just, fell apart from there. And they did end up taking a break, but so she's over. I don't know if it was communicated very well. Yeah, she didn't actually. She did the stonewalling. She didn't tell her they needed to take a break. And I was like, just take this as a break, So yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and the more that we can have even cues right next to us, like I like infographics. So I have some infographics that I have on our refrigerator because I need them just as much as any other but else in our family. Am I not being concise? Did I not clarify? Which fair fighting rule am I breaking today? So which is really the fairness of communication when we have difficulties. So 100%. I think that being able to have some of those tools around us when we're in the middle of things can be really helpful too. So they have been for our family. I think they've saved us sometimes, but yeah, and it still happens. I get what you're saying. I hope that some of the tools here can be implemented pretty
Yeah.
quickly for you. Yeah.
Will those infographics be a part of, what you're going to follow up with?
Yes, they will be
Okay.
available to all of you, 100%.
Okay,
That's going to be
great.
on there, and there'll be like infographics specific to communication, to this, and then they'll be cited so you can go to the actual different websites that they come from, because I find that that's a nice place to go in this world of 10-second communication, So, yeah. Those are great questions, though. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the vulnerabilities in your own family, because that opens up a safer place for all of us to kind of dive into. So.
Oh yeah, I'm the vulnerable one of the bunch. I'm very open.
That's a gift. It's a good thing, because it does provide like, oh, okay, well, Camilla just did that, so maybe I can talk about this, So yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you. All right. So when we're looking at defining respectful relationships and boundaries, I'm gonna go with, we can't have respectful relationships unless we have boundaries. We can't have boundaries unless we have self-awareness in order to set a boundary. So it's an equation. This is a live link well, maybe this will be up online. I'll make sure that this is up online in that website. The creating boundaries to support your mental health. So this is a nice article, but they have little infographics like this. Looking at what do you want to improve in your relationship? So kind of start there. How do I want this to be different? What would that look like? Like I don't want my partner to kiss me on my eardrum hole right here. I don't like it. It echoes, and it has like a little suction thing. That's a boundary for me. It really annoys me. I like, no, please don't do that. And so I want that to improve, because sometimes he'll do that as he's leaving at 3 in the morning, and thinks it's funny. And I'm like, no, that's not funny. I don't like it. So that's an example, though. Like, and that's that's like a more silly thing, but it goes all the way to really, really serious. Like, I don't want to be touched right now. You need to respect that. Don't touch me in this way. I might have been able to. You could have hugged me yesterday. I don't want to be hugged today. Then it goes into that consent space. Determine if your boundaries within that relationship are healthy. So that's looking at healthy boundaries And, oh, wait, have I looked, some people have 10 pages, single space on what a healthy boundary is. So I'm going to give you the best definition I have ever heard. A healthy boundary is the boundary you set, period. Dot. Done. It's you set in the moment. That's a healthy boundary. Oh, we can go into a lot of other places in that, but it changes over time. But having that's a good idea. And then you can explore whether that was more of a wall or a boundary, but in that moment, that's what you needed. That's what you're asking for. That's a healthy boundary. Consider barriers that might prevent change and how you can address them. So we'll be looking at some of the macro big picture barriers in society, but also some of the underneath barriers. And that really can come down to the space of how willing are the people around you to work at that self-awareness and work in the space of respecting and hearing you? And then how willing are you? And this is a space where we think we're right a lot. Okay, we have this feeling, all of us do. We get this space, I'm right. And once we say that I'm right, we kind of close ourselves off. It's a space to like just invite a little bit more openness of what does this person need versus what I need, and what am I doing that may be a barrier to actually having a change take place. So the writing out the action and taking like actual action, that's what we started with a little bit right here. So we have all these tools and knowledge, but we need to take the action. So how scary is it to speak the words, I don't want this to happen? It's scary because you don't want to lose a friendship, and you don't want to lose a partnership, and you don't want to harm a person. It is literally frightening. And I know that everybody's had that experience. Like, I am really scared to set this boundary because I don't want to lose this person. So how worth it this boundary is to me, do I take action on it? How much do I need this to happen? I will probably be okay with getting kissed on my eardrum for the rest of my life because I love the dude so much. I know, I hear you, it's restrained, but it's true. It's also a salsable thing. He leaves his salsable uncleaned every single freaking night. We're not. But that you can probably relate to some of these things. It's like, is it versus the relation?
This is Kamala. We just have someone who is emphasizing or adding to what you're talking about. Lori in the chat says, I think we worry more than we should about hurting other people's feelings. And I'm going to second that. I don't anymore. I learned that, and it's empowering to get to a place where you can share what you feel and not worry about. That's their own stuff if it bothers them. So, in my opinion.
No, yes, that's exactly where we're going to, because it's 100%. If there is a delivery piece here, because I would say that's a little bit. It starts with making sure that we say no when we don't want something to happen. It's a sentence, right? The first time that you start saying no in a sentence, that person can say no. In fact, it was just this last week, I was leading a group, and one young lady said no to another. They're all teenagers. One said no to another, and they're like, well, that was rude. And I was like, actually, no, that was a boundary, and that was not rude at all. Like, maybe you need to consider that it's okay for you to say no too. And leave it. You don't have to apologize for saying no.
No explanation required.
Just no. And it's a big one. So we have Lori, that's a great point, and it's exactly true. We do often, not everybody, right? There's some people who don't worry about hurting people's feelings at all. And so those are some of those people that we need to they need to get some more help or more therapy, but that's not our job. Our job is to make sure that, like, hey, we say no, that's not okay, and then see if they can actually learn to listen. No. I like this infographic. This will be a live link for you to explore the power of consent. Felicia Brown does a good job in regard to, this is specific for people with autism, her website. So we do have different places for different types of minds and different spaces of how do we learn consent? What does that look like? What are some of the nonverbals of consent? What are some of the verbals? Because sometimes it can be confusing when somebody's saying no jokingly and then they do what they said no to, right? That's so confusing. We do that all the time, you know, and then there's this whole like flirting thing of like, ah, no, no, no. And then like, how do you pick up on what's real or what's not real? With like, it's very, very confusing. And it is also where we clarify, right? So we get in there like, I have literally said these words, are you joking or are you not? Because I don't want to violate a boundary. So if you're really setting this up, then please tell me. And if you're not, then please tell me. Okay. So it's a very different, and it's a tough one to learn. And I think I want to put out there right now because 1 in 4, if not more, those are only what's reported, adults have been sexually assaulted or in some way or another in our world. And in no way is you not knowing information or not understanding like one way or another ever your fault. It's not your fault. So please, as I'm going through and teaching this and looking at these things, it is something that we can all learn, and it's oftentimes something that we don't learn. And what you didn't know or what you don't know, it's not your fault. It's now a space where you can learn and explore more and see how, hey, how is it in my survivor self of being a survivor of abuse and horrendous things that have happened to me, or having family members that are survivors, how can we promote well-being, healing, and working on feeling safe in the world again? That's I just really want to put that foundation out there because it's really important to understand in this realm. So did the person say yes if yes was freely chosen? Because yes is often coerced. Or people say yes when they don't mean to say yes because they're trying to people please and they don't even know it. So there's a lot of different things there. Sometimes you're not even knowing what you're saying yes to. So that's a big one. As far as, do I need to clarify? Do I know what somebody's asking me to do? Is that something that I understand? And that's a big deal for all of us. Did the person say yes? If yes, was it a freely chosen yes? And if it was not a freely chosen yes, then that's not consent. Did the person say yes if yes was freely chosen? And it's no, that's no consent. There's a lot in between all of these pluses and these check marks, but as far as a start to understanding, how does this look? How do we clarify? When do we clarify? This is a good starting point for all of us.
I think Julia might have a question. I'm not sure, but I also want to say, is there, where does it fall, or is there another image that talks about where where you're just silent? You're not saying yes or no, but you're silent because you're scared for your life.
Right. There's not an infograph on that, but that is 100% not consent.
Yes. Yeah. I was just wondering if it.
Not, and that's one of the big things. Camilla, you bring up a big point about life in general and communication, but also specifically in consent. What the human mind tends to do is if somebody is silent, and this is not, again, no fault of anything, but we tend to get silent when we're anxious or we're scared, or maybe when we're just listening, we're just wanting to validate somebody's experience. If in that space, it is a natural thing for the person who is talking or asking or whatever to assume that you agree with them or that it's okay if they don't hear anything back. And we have a lot of room for growth as a human population in this space. There is many mistakes I made in past best friendships where I was just listening, validating, never said my opinion, and that person didn't know who I was at all. They didn't know me because they just assumed that I agreed with everything they said. I never once said something back. And it was then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am in a most horrendous friendship. How did this happen? Oh, I haven't said a word about how I feel. I have a lot to learn. So it is, it's a really big, important space to look at, and also to teach on the other side that people are not necessarily agreeing with you because they're silent. you need to understand that. You need to understand actually what's happening and have different routes of in our realm of the various types of minds and abilities, being able to really get to the entire population, but certainly here in our world is what's the mode of communication for this person? Do they need to write it down? What do they need to speak it? What in like to something else? Like how do they actually show consent? I mean, what's their form of consent? Maybe even in the same room as you, maybe they need to leave and think about it and come back. What's the processing speed of any certain person? Certainly, I need to leave a situation sometimes to be like, what do I want? What is okay with me? You know? But even knowing that you can do that, giving yourself permission and person, when we have many different spaces of neurodivergency, but any kind of thing like, wait here, maybe my nonverbals aren't matching up with my verbals, or maybe you're not seeing or hearing what I'm doing here. So this explicit communication that can be understood by both parties becomes just ever more important. It's an ongoing journey.
Julia, did you have a question?
Yeah, she's in the Spanish room, so we won't be able to.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to
So
type
yeah,
in the chat.
yeah. So interpreters, if you get Julia's question, that'd be great.
Please into the chat.
Oh, okay, no question. Oh, it must have been an accident. Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure everybody gets heard. So
Okay. Oh, I got it. Thank you. I don't know why I did that. Okay, cool. And not so cool. But you know what's cool? Is when we get good at consent. When we start empowering ourselves at consent. And then it goes to like, you start getting more and more confident in that, and you can speak to the people who have power over you and see if that's even where you need to be. Who has power over you? Like, let's say a boss. Let's say your boss. And something's happened at work and you're not okay with what's happened. You can start saying, I'm not okay with this and this is why. Let's have a conversation. Let's open up the door. Yes.
If you're like scared to like confront your boss after they said something to you and you just like chose to say nothing and just, I'll just deal with it.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, because
this is Kamala. Excuse me. Can you repeat what she's asking?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it's very no when she's done or now, but I don't think the interpreters are probably going to be able to hear her. Yeah, they just said they can't hear her. So
Okay, just
yeah,
because
just
my own mind, I'm going to say the question first and then we'll go from there because
yep. Sounds good.
That's my mind. So correct me if I'm wrong with this, okay? The question was, what happens if your boss does something or says something to you that you're not okay with, but you let it go or you're silent about it, and that's a
and about the rest of your day, but
you go about the rest of your day, but you're really bothered.
yeah, and this is coming from a recent event that happened on Thursday.
So it's a recent event that happened on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, with a member of the audience.
Not to speak with her supervisor any longer
Unless
on a
it's
personal level, because and if it's on a work-related issue, it's okay, but if it's on a personal level, she was asked not to speak to that person anymore. And that was her supervisor.
Okay.
Because I like to start off conversations. I like to be like social.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a few things. One, looking inside yourself on what would you like to have happen? What was it that bothered you most? What don't you maybe like what would you like to have communicated in the moment? Kind of just or that kind of thing.
Like when I'm done with like work related stuff, I just wanted to have a talk with people about like stuff that I like or something that me and the supervisor have in common.
So being able to build a relationship.
Yes.
So one of the things I was asking is about what is it, just kind of grounding into the awareness of what is it that you wanted to communicate in a situation where you didn't feel comfortable or safe in the moment to speak. And then in the long run, what would you like to say? And then the answer here is like, I do enjoy being able to have connection, and understanding and sharing pieces of our life for that connection out. And that's part of what I would like to have our work relationship be, from what I'm hearing. So that's like the first step. What is it that we wanted to communicate that we didn't? And then the next thing is, why is this person saying this? Right? So the question is, why do you, and then it's how important it is to you. Is it something that you can let go of and be okay with, or
Just-
is it not, you know?
It's kind of like in the middle. It's just like try to mask it and pretend not to be bothered by it, but when you come home after you're done working, all that weight comes crashing down.
Yeah. There's a lot about, probably some warning about like, hey, why not? And like, why don't you want to have this communication with me? What's wrong with that? And what did I do wrong? And why are you doing this? So yeah.
My mama bear senses went off because it was not okay for her to be treated that way. And I know they're adults and so forth, but it's still very hurtful when someone says, I don't want to have anything to do with you outside of work.
100%. 100%.
Can you repeat that, please?
So as a parent with a mama bear instincts coming in, I'm paraphrasing, that it can be, there's some red flags here, and it's very hurtful when somebody says, I don't want to have a relationship with you outside of here. And that was like not nice approach to that situation. So how does this go? There's some things that you can do, and that's in writing. If they have an email, I love emails for quite a few reasons. And I literally just did this in one of my contracts. I keep everything. I have 20,000 plus emails in any one thread for any one contract, because then people forget, they have funny minds. I do. Like, oh, okay, like let's track this conversation a little bit and see how this goes. Sometimes it can be nice to have that go on. So asking why, and then letting your boss know, this hurt my feelings. This is why it hurt my feelings. Why is this something that you asked for? Right? So that way you have a clear understanding, and then because it's in writing through email, the response can be read again and again, and that way you can have a clarifying space of, okay, when my emotions have calmed down, how do I respond to this? And is this something that I can understand? Because maybe behind there's something that happened with a liability thing, like on her part with her boss, with the business, like, and she just didn't handle it well with you at all. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. That's like that's a nice version of what maybe is happening. Because you're right. Like if hurting your feelings at work, I mean, that makes being created is feelings of discomfort that can lead to a toxic work environment.
But for me, I couldn't, with my autism, I couldn't tell like what is what, you know? You know, like how I can tell like how someone is talking to me, like if it's healthy or is it toxic. I am like saying that as a like I'm vulnerable and vulnerable.
You know what? It's beautiful that you just said that out loud. Your boss needs to hear that. Write that to your boss. You just advocate. That's a thing.
Can you repeat that for the interpreters, please?
Okay, I'm going to try. The space that talking about with having autism, that it's a real struggle to be able to understand what is being communicated in what type of way. So what is like, is this really a hurtful thing? Is this not a hurtful thing? What's going on underneath with some of the nonverbal communication, and what's intended or what's not intended? And not understanding that leaves a great deal of vulnerability and feeling of just not being able to have a space, feeling vulnerability really of being gullible and vulnerable, feeling gullible and vulnerable.
I just wanted to,
It's actually such a, this is a root for all of what we're talking about. The being able to understand what somebody needs from us to have a clear dialogue, and when we've hurt somebody and when we haven't, and what we need. For you to even be able to speak those words at all is such a huge indicator of how much work you've done. I mean, congratulations, okay? Because that is so hard to do, especially in the space where, one, you're in a public space here, but two, talking about this really vulnerable situation where I don't know, and I like, who are the predators that are like actually that I need to be worrying about, and how do I even know? Maybe was that was that something not okay, or is it okay, or when is me feeling hurt valid? And I'm going to tell you that you feeling hurt is valid. Okay, because what is going on right there is that there's a person that doesn't understand how to communicate with you.
well,
And
can we, the only person has autism working at a place that has no like autistic employees there. It's just very hard for people or employees and the higher ups to understand.
yep, you are absolutely pinpointing a huge gap in the way people are trained and what our rights and our laws say we have. And this is the law that you need to be abiding by. This is the rights of this individual, to have these accommodations to be understood, to have the environment be friendly and differentiated for them, and for everybody to be open to learning on how to like communicate and understand how best to promote and uplift and elevate every single person on their staff. That is, you're literally talking about what's wrong with almost every single working environment.
Amen.
It's, yes. Oh, amen was said. Okay.
I would just like to say, I am an occupational therapist and I'm 80 years old. I've been working a long, long time. And I want to tell you that autism or no, I think you're quite exceptional to have been able to express yourself like this in front of a group of strangers. I think that's a huge strength, and even more so if you're dealing with autism. I think there are a lot of young women your age who would not be able to do that at all.
100%.
Thank you.
Actually, 100%
Thank
across
you.
the board. That's such a good point. I'm so glad that you said that, because it is true for all the population. Somebody who's been in a work environment and they're in their 50s, and whether they're neurotypical or not, it is hard. We don't have the training out there of understanding how to actually, when can we speak and when can we not? And we have many hierarchical places where people that are in power should not be in power. So it's a big space. So how do we navigate these spaces? And this is what this whole entire organization is about. It's what every single person in this room stands for, and every single person that's listening stands for, is the advocating for civil rights and equity in our environments. What you're dealing with is a lack of equity.
And for the last 3 years, I've been struggling with it.
There's spaces that need to be done in that entire organization, and it's spaces as far as how far you want to go with certain spaces. Again, what are you okay to do? What are you not okay to do? It can start with a conversation. You hurt my feelings. I don't understand this. On the email, I try to always go with the email, because then you have a record of communication. The spaces, it's also for clarification too, because when we are in a situation, I can't tell you how often I would talk about, I just said, hey, get off your, like, maybe get off your cell phones. But at the same time, there's times when I'm like literally communicating, and I refer to my partner a lot. he knows it. But we're like in the same room and I'm like, I wish we could just be like actually writing each other because I am so activated by you right now. I don't even know what you just said, you know? I need to refer back.
This is Kamala. I am a heavy email user. I love communicating that way. And when I have a situation that like this, I always will start the email with something like, "Hey, I just want to clarify this," and then I will go into it. Yeah, I think definitely I am 100% behind that email way to do it.
I love that because I just want to clarify this. Also, some things that can take away some of the conflict feelings is I need help. Can you help me understand? Posing it as a question. What just happened here? What can we do to make this better with still being able to clarify that this hurt my feelings and this is why. And these are some of the struggles I'm having right now. And this is why.
Oh, sorry.
So it's just being able to have that space of navigating at the forefront of what's going on in this environment. And you've been struggling with this lack of clear communication for 3 years. And that is a long time for an organization to be messing up in such a way. So it is.
Mental health, every step.
Okay, so there's spaces, and again, this is like one of those situations where is my mental health, where is my safety? And then how far do I go with what I'm wanting and willing to do? But what you have here is you have every right to say, I am not being communicated with in a manner that is conducive for a complete circle of communication. This is what I need, and this is what I need to be different. Yeah, but like, I mean, there's this identifying that these are the needs you have.
That I would love to speak up for myself sometimes, but I am not a very confrontational person.
Yeah.
And I'm really scared about confrontation. And I don't know what I would say that will get me like respect or get in trouble.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not keeping her in this job on purpose. I'm not. I know her mental health is compromised, but we are waiting for services to help her get job placement. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, I'm keeping my daughter in a toxic work environment. That's not it at all. I would not do that to her. She needs to get out of the house, and she needs to have that type of, getting out of the house and that social level and things like that. I personally am not 100%. I wanted to pull her from the job a long time ago, but she does need to get out of the house and not stay in her four walls and on her computer and on her cell phone. She needs to get out.
Yes.
And she needs those different types of stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
So I sincerely am waiting for the freeze to be not,
yes.
so that I can get her out of this toxic environment and also get her into a place where they do teach her
right
the skills to be successful instead of just pushing her off as the child with autism.
Right.
And like have a better communication with people with special needs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And have more special needs individuals.
Yes.
Like with
100%.
life. Because then they can build off of one
Yes.
another.
So it was just shared here that as a mom, she's not at any way saying that you have to stay in this particular environment. They're waiting for services to be able to hopefully have different placement in a different work environment and not forcing in any ways to stay in this toxic work environment, but there's many different levels to this as in the complexity of spaces, and that I know I'm missing quite a bit here, but that this is one of these spaces of I've wanted to pull her, but haven't, and when does that, just the balance of, because also she needs the skills and the actual being out there and understanding the different spaces and the social skills, so you're not on the computer all the time in four walls. Is that summarizing? Okay, but you bring up so many good points. Is it okay if I like, can I, are you both okay? I'm checking in with you because I just want, I like, as far as anxiety levels can go, and it's been, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure just that we're cool. The again, this is like another space, but I want to tell you a story, and this is a story. So I have a son that's on the spectrum, and I have a daughter that's very ADHD with severe anxiety and depression. And I just want to share that with you because there's speaking from not only someone that I'm also have had adult, as an adult, I understand what I had, but nobody knew what I had when I was young. So the different spaces, I was at a conference in North Carolina, and it was a conference specifically for people who are working to learn how to best educate people with developmental disabilities. And the keynote speaker was a man that was born with severe cerebral palsy. And he got up on stage and he ran up on stage, which is very, really interesting because he's had lots of surgeries, but he can run better than he can walk. If you saw him walk, you would not even know that he would be able to run. He told his life story, which was probably one of the most impactful moments of my life, because as a mom, I was struggling a great deal with where do I land in a lot of spaces of helping with self-determination and self-actualization and all these things. And he was willing to speak with me, and we had lunch together afterwards because I was highly emotional. And I asked, I was like, what is your relationship with your mom like now? As he shared a lot of different things about he wouldn't be where he was on the football team. Okay, like he was on the football team and he could run the fastest, and he was able to catch a ball in one hand.
Wow.
But there was no way that he would ever have known that if his mom didn't let him fall and bleed, literally, a lot. Like, what are you capable of? Can you run? Like, oh my gosh! And they were all shocked that you can run. You can barely walk, but you can run. And then also when he got up on stage, he spoke clearer, which was very interesting. His anxiety slowed down his mind so that he could speak in public, which was all these different things that were what he wanted to do. And he got pushed into because of his own spaces, but because he wanted to do, he learned how to ride a bike, and they did end up adapting the bike. And later on, he found out that his mom was watching from the window the whole time crying. And it was like, it was just so hard for her to let go. And he said to me, in the realm of your son, you need to go the extra mile of letting go so that you can see what's capable and they can see what's capable. And think about all the times you've fallen and you keep falling. And maybe, yes, it's still the safety net. If it's a really bad cut, you're going to go and get them patched up mentally, physically, emotionally. But being able to be out in the world and learn how to navigate that space and learn about yourself and learn when to speak up and when not to speak up, learn what's going to help you feel fulfilled. Those are rights, and those are something that we can give our children of all different types of minds, but it's hard to give them that if they're never allowed to experience what they can or can't do. I was bawling, okay, because I'm seriously like totally navigating what he can and can't do at that point. And it was really, really, really tough for me to hear. And now he's literally says, stop. Like that's what it's like. His word is not no, his word is stop. Because I'll start talking about, and you could do this, and what about saying this to the, or the, and our drive to Alpine Academy Schools, because that's a really cool school, by the way, over in Sparks. It's small, and Dr. Mina Avery's there, who's amazing. If you don't know her, awesome. We have a morning drive every morning, and some mornings he's talkative, and some mornings he's like, "Can I just not hear your voice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But he doesn't mean, to say it rude, but like, there's just about me even being able to like get to the point where he's going to a school, navigating, I'm not around. I want to be there. I want to be at that. I want to know all the things. He's been so bullied in his life, but he's learned how to stand up for himself. And so tough. And he went away from his twin, which was another huge thing because the twin was protecting him. And he decided that he made the choice that like, no, I want to know what life's like without all of you guys crowding me. So that's my own personal story, but the story from this gentleman, and that's what he does. He goes around and he does these motivational speaking. They're out of Canada. He's married. He has 3 kids. His kids were there. I got to meet his kids. It was just crazy. It was like such a cool, his story was so amazing, but I was like, when I was imagining being the mom watching him try to navigate on a bike, I'm like, I don't even, that pulls up so much for me. And I think that's one of the spaces that we're looking at here is when we're so, what's happening within us and when do we step in, when do we not step in? Where is our place as we help transition our children into these adult world spaces that are not kind, that are not built for them? And then where do we navigate? And one of the things that maybe I would think about, because I hear you say that conflict is hard. I hear you. You're not alone. A lot of people will do everything to avoid it. And not that picture in the thing, I'm cooking to avoid intimacy. Well, I'm probably cooking to say no too. Like I'm avoiding conflict. You know, I'm cooking for you. Leave me alone. Look, I have good look at the meal. Here you go. I don't have to like worry about you. Like I don't have to worry about saying no. It's yeah, there's a lot there. And so this is a lifelong journey of you learning about yourself and what you're comfortable with. And then there's
This is Kamala. I just want to share a couple of comments from the chat. And one is from Lori, and this was when the young lady was sharing. She said she agrees with what she was saying. Props to her for being able to share. And Veronica just posted when you were speaking about your experience and what it brought up with the gentleman who was speaking. She says, that is so motivational. Thank you. She loves that you shared that.
thank you, because sometimes yeah, that's beautiful. Look at you guys doing wonderful things. And by the way, there was some thank yous from our audience here. Thank you.
So Morgan, here's a question. I always tell my kids, what if we look at conflict as communication, not conflict? It's communication that you need. So I approach even if sometimes it's hard, there's hard communication, easy communication, flowing communication, all kinds of communication. But it doesn't have to be easy. The other person might see it that way. That's their own issue, right?
Yeah.
But that's what you need.
This is Kamala. That was not heard probably by the
Okay, I love it. It
interpreter.
was probably one of the most, thank you, because it's exactly beautiful. So the question was, or the idea of what about thinking of conflict as communication, that switching around the dialogue and the word in your own head of this isn't conflict, this is communication. And you don't have control over necessarily the other person, how they think of it as either conflict or communication, but that what I'm considering this is communication. And I love that because that is a broadening and it is true. That's you setting a boundary or saying what's okay, and also you saying that my feelings have been hurt. You speaking up your truth is one, letting people know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you. So that's a boundary. So if you can think of maybe I'm setting boundaries, I'm communicating, I'm letting people know who I am. That's beautiful. I love that reframe. It's a really impactful reframe. Very, very impactful. So I think what a beautiful road to move on that can broaden out. This is the range of communication.
I've been evolving because of like past experiences that happened this year. I've been adapting way more than I should have. Like not and be less like, naive and more getting into like, situations that I can like sort of understand, but I'm getting there. And it's just taking more time. But I'm evolving every day when it comes to things like this.
I love that. So what was just said is that she's evolving every single day when it comes to this. This year, just evolving more and more when it comes to being able to understand, communicate, and
Girl, me too. This is Kamala. I'm in my
Me
50s
too.
and I am,
Me too.
yeah,
I can
but
say.
I was like, the older you get, the less you care about what other people are thinking about what you are saying. So yeah, that's it's always, I mean, it's like always little steps, little steps.
It is. When we all are, that's 100% true. It's a continuous space. We change with experiences. So when I say that what was okay with me in my 20s, pretty much 90% of that is not okay with me now. What was okay with me even a week ago, I'm sort of like, I don't think so. I'm learning constantly, and then maybe
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
constantly, and it's that space of really being in tune with our own cues and then how best to speak them, how best to communicate them. The communication world is something we think we're good at. Like people think we're good at teaching. It's a human thing. We think we're good at certain things. People think they're good at leadership. We have to learn communication skills. We have to learn how to teach. We have to learn how to be a leader. And then we have to like learn how to, if we're truly committed to the populations that we're serving in all those spaces, then we need to be able to be open and humble to admit when we're wrong, apologize, and grow and learn to become more adaptable and broaden our ability to help others and help the people that we care about the most. So what you're doing here in evolving is not only increasing your self-awareness so that you have a better life and better relationships, but you're inviting the people around you to do the same, which is awesome. And you can go far with it. Yeah, 100%. You can. There's it's one even email is an advocacy thing. You speaking up is an advocacy thing. You showering down laws and research is another step, maybe in the future. That can happen, but there's lots of room. If there's room for improvement, there's lots of spaces. And it's always nice to do it in ways that people can actually hear it without feeling threatened. Was there any more questions, Camilla, about any of this, or?
No, I'm good.
You
That is what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Oh, good. Excellent. Well, let me tell you straight up, the world needs you. Keep going. Okay? They're all needed. This is a big one. No
Yeah.
joke.
I was just going to share that, my 18-year-old has level 1 autism, ADHD, sounds a lot like your child, ADHD, anxiety, severe depression, suicidal ideation, which is kicked into high gear here recently. And they have the same difficulty with relationships. It blows my mind to have these conversations with them. And I'm thinking, how can you and I have had the same experiences like I when they were younger, and I still having those experiences with relationships, not understanding people, and they just don't understand, like they feel like they're the ones always having to put in the effort in any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship or trying to have a romantic relationship. So yeah, I wonder, if that's something that anybody else's experiences as well, that they're seeing their child themselves mirrored in the experiences that their child is having with trying to navigate relationships.
Beautiful question. I'll open it up. Does anybody online or out here want to comment on that? Of course, I have stuff to say. That's something that I'm good at. Okay. Camilla, in the spaces that I've been privileged to navigate and sometimes forced into and now dived into, you are not alone. It's a 100% a thing. And what I've seen again and again is as our children navigate through spaces, we have the invitation to navigate through those spaces and relive the beauties that we had and also the traumas that we had, and to be able to figure out how we're responding and how we're healing or ignoring our own space can be very telling. And that's that space of self-awareness for everybody in the dynamic of a family and a community, to take responsibility for our self-awareness. But think about what I just said. Has anybody ever said that to you before? Because when I first heard it, nobody had said it to me. You know, like to really look at what energy am I bringing in, what words, what places, do you even, you're coming in at this angle, but is this even the angle you want to come in at? Because what is it you really want out of this space? What is the end goal? And are you communicating in that specific way? And then is your one of my most wonderful mentors told me that healing, and in some way or another, we're all on a healing journey because we've been hurt somewhere along the line. Healing is integration. So healing is integration of the parts of us that have been shattered, hurt, broken out from our core self. Not that you're broken, but the pieces that have been hurt, they're out there. And that the journey is of self-awareness, self-regulation, and communication, but also just simply living the life and knowing what that life is of what you want, is bringing in those pieces and healing them into yourself so that your core self that's ever present, sometimes maybe screaming at you, is in charge, and not the piece that got hurt, but the piece that is you here that is healing. So integration as self-awareness, as a place that we can all be working towards. And again, this is a space where I saw a sign you went on, and I couldn't believe it was on a sign because I've heard it over and over again. Try to approach your own journey and the journey of others with curiosity and not judgment. So try to approach your own spaces of when you have messed up or when you wished you had done something different, or the history of you as a place of curiosity of where you want to go with it and how maybe you could heal or journey forth, versus tearing yourself down, as that's just further harm to your core self. Building yourself up and having the right to feel good in your body and to have some confidence. And the more that we do that for ourselves, the more that we can hopefully help the people around us to do the same. And again, with a curiosity and then a reward system where we're building on like, yeah, I did that, instead of blaming ourselves or like being so mean to like, oh, I made this choice, or I should have known better, or why didn't I do this right? Or that's you're being your own terrorist in your mind, right? You're terrorizing yourself. So it's a respectful relationships start with the one you have with yourself. So are you respecting yourself inside your own space? Are you being kind? Are you treating yourself as a best friend would treat you? A truly best friend that's not toxic, like a really loving, kind person. Are you treating yourself that way? That's a nice way to like platform out into other respectful relationships. So Camilla, what you're talking about is the lived experience of our kids going through the different phases that we went through, and then seeing some similarities, and then that bring up spaces for us on how we can directly respond. I have a partner who is in mining and construction, and we couldn't be more opposite. Okay, doesn't like people much. I love people. We don't like the communication and the ideas things are very different. So being able to speak the same language and to have a person like that be able to navigate these spaces is probably the most, and I've worked with lots of different minds. It's just, this is a very stubborn individual. To be able to see that any mind has this neuroplasticity to be able to understand and cultivate communication skills and get better at them over time, to own and see and like, okay, this didn't work out, so what will work out? What are the different plots of spaces? And also learning what people need, right? So he needs diagrams. This is perfect for him. So, you know, like just like the different spaces of what people need and how they best learn from those dynamics and how we best communicate. Like maybe who knows what your boss has going on in their realm, right? As far as the best communication for them, because they obviously did not communicate well to you. So they're lacking some skills. And it's not your job to skill build, but it's you can like point out that, hey, this was hurtful. How can we do this? How can this be better? You know, why is this happening? Yeah, and then I love that because that's communication. Yes.
So another form of boundary that we run across in our household a lot is texting. Social boundaries and text. So this has been happening for like 5 years. And there's this belief that even if I do it wrong, I know what's right and I know what's wrong. But even if I do it wrong, it's okay. I just apologize. And the change doesn't need to happen. An apology is enough, and then I go back to my same behavior.
Oh my goodness gracious.
You might want to repeat that.
Okay, I'm going to. Okay, so a problem in that household. And
Yeah. You're gonna rephrase that question, please, for the interpreter.
absolutely. So it was mentioned that another boundary problem that is faced in a household is that the texting. So the texting over the phone and having it be like, okay, there's a wrong way or right way, but if you do it the wrong way, all you have to do is apologize and then it's done and you can go back to the same behavior because you've apologized. So maybe speaking on that is the question. And that is one that happens without texting a lot, that people are like, oh, I don't really have to change if I apologize, somehow erased. And that is not building a respectful relationship. Okay. So you can keep apologizing and then you keep doing the same behavior, but what you're showing is you are not putting in the work to adapt to the situation. If you know that your behavior is hurting somebody that you say that you care about and you keep doing it, you are not being self-aware and you are not acting on your words. You are doing opposite action of saying you care. So you can apologize all you want, but you're not actually changing or trying to change or even saying I'm trying to change and then apologizing more when you are not changing. So it's about these spaces we can get caught up in. Oh boy, I remember my younger self saying, I am what I am, like Popeye. You deal with me like I am. It's my right to be who I am. Okay, all right, okay. And I think about my younger self, be like, I love you, honey, but come on, let's go, let's evolve. What that actually says to everybody around you is, oh, doesn't matter who I hurt. I'm good. Here I am. This is me. I'm just going to run bulldoze over you. My space matters more than your space, and I'm going to be me. You've got to deal with all the other stuff, and that's not love or care or respect. Okay, so the actual love and care and respect comes with, oh my gosh, I love you. I hurt you. I don't want to do that again. Okay, now if it's something that it's really important to me, if I'm hurting you because I'm going and following my dreams and getting a education, we're probably destined for two different paths. That's hard, but it's a boundary that if I'm hurting them because I need to do this for my own soul and benefit, and they can't get on board with it, then that probably needs a separation there into two different spaces and a reevaluation of how close that relationship is. So I'm not talking about like a soul journey of I absolutely have this thing I have to do with my life. It brings me meaning and joy. In that too. Do I need to show up for Sunday night dinners? Yeah, probably, so we don't get a divorce. And yeah, that's probably a good idea. So, but if it's something that's let's say you're smoking on your partner's or your friend or anybody, they keep smoking cigarettes inside the house. Not only are they actually like, that's annoying, that makes everything smell, but they actually really are harming you. They're giving you cancer. Okay, so like, that's not okay. That is a really like, that's not okay. And they keep saying, oh, I'm sorry. I'll go outside next time. No. There's at some point there's going to be no next time. So, and that if you're the person that's smoking and doing that harm, you know, there's lots of different ways to think about this in different realms. Then if you really care about the person around you, you don't want to do harm to them. You don't want to harm them. So you actually change your behavior so you don't harm them anymore. You go out and you have a space in the cold ass freezing ice and you smoke there. Because that is, now you are actually not harming, you know, and I do cross my hands because this is a big one for like a lot of people, you know, because there's power poses, right, in life, you know? Like, you know, there's like a nice little TED talk on it, you know, like, when you give your boundary, this, I mean it, yeah. I'm serious. The space with texting though, I started with in person because it gets more nuanced with texting. Because it feels like you're a little more hidden. You don't have to see somebody's face. So you don't see the hurt, maybe, you know, you don't see the consequence. And you can maybe feel like, oh, I can just keep doing this because I'm not experiencing what they're experiencing firsthand, you know, in the same space as them. But it's still harmful. And if someone is saying this is harmful or this is hurtful, then one, it would be beautiful for that other person that, okay, being able to get clear. So what specifically in that text was harmful? This is what you said that was harmful. Quoting it back. This is why it was harmful. This hurt my feelings. I feel disrespected. I feel disrespected because I feel like you are not seeing or hearing me and that you don't care about my feelings. Very clear about whatever was actually written. And then if there's the apology, okay, great. We all need to apologize, but we need to repair. The repair, this is dialectical behavioral therapy, guys. It's good stuff. If you know, it's all free online too, whole entire workbook. So Marsha Linehan stuff. The looking at how do I repair now? So the repair comes with even incremental tries. Oh man, I didn't mean to do that again. I'm sorry, ignore that. And at least they're now aware that they texted something that was not okay to you or in the realm, and working on identifying that this is not something that is okay with the person that I care about, that I'm communicating with. You're literally one-on-one too. This isn't like you're talking to a group of people. You are directly hurting one person. I mean, if you care about that person, you need to think about how you are going to change your behavior and then start changing it. They're not asking you to change your core self. They're asking you to change how you're doing your language, how you're doing the spaces. That's how are you communicating? If I said something, you heck of a blah, 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 how dare you, and I want you to do this. Okay, I immediately put somebody on the defense. You know, I'm calling them all kinds of names. And I get back, that hurt my feelings. But that's a toxic relationship. It's totally not constructive. So whatever it is that you have written that has been hurtful, the person needs to understand that it's hurtful. And then the person that has been hurt needs to identify and be able to say explicitly how they've been hurt, why they've been hurt, what it is that hurt them in that communication. And then next step would be really cool. How could you do it differently? How could I do it differently? So that takes a bit to understand, but if, hey, how about you tell me what you need before you get upset? Well, how about you communicate without cussing or yelling? How about you let me know? And if I have not been able to do that, then come and like, maybe before you assume that I am not caring about you, maybe there was 10 things that got in the way that were priorities before then. Just talk to me. Okay? So it looks like we have chats.
No, that's some older stuff there. I don't think anybody, unless I'm missing something, I don't think we have any.
I think
Yeah,
we have 15 minutes.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything there. Yeah, that made me laugh, that last thing, because yeah, I just had a conversation with my dad. We have a very surface level relationship at this point, only talking about food and the weather, but we did get off of that topic, and yeah, I was screaming. That was me. I was the one screaming. Yeah. Um, anyway, that made me laugh when you said that.
Yeah. Uh, and this is something that I've come to understand, that I think that we can think that somebody has it all figured out. You get a magic pill of communication. This is a journey for all of us to take. Now we can we get different skill levels. We master different skill levels. There's always the next skill level to master. It's ever going. If I lived 10,000 lifetimes, I'd still have a hard time communicating because I'm meeting new people. I'm learning how to navigate that person. I'm not an expert on them, so I rely on the person I'm communicating with to help me understand how they want to be communicated with, and then I'm relying on myself to ensure that I do the same for the other. But it takes a lot of awareness and space,
Well,
right?
yeah. And I think the older you get, though, that you also realize when people are speaking to you in a degrading way, when they're being sexist or racist or whatever. And yeah, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, and then you get to like figure out, oh boy, there's so many different things on that level. Yeah, on what's okay and what's not okay. I've I there is a, well, I'm gonna show, I'll put it on the website, but there's some funny, sometimes you can get around into people's spaces, especially our parents, setting up boundaries through humor. So there's some spaces where you can get like, okay, somebody like getting their walls down, getting a little comfortable with something that's funny, and then putting in that boundary. And then they're more receptive because they're not all walled up, because they're just, oh, that was funny. And like, okay, you're relating to me. And now I'm setting a boundary. Um, doesn't always work for,
Yeah.
we
Yeah. I
gotta
mean,
figure out, we gotta
we
figure
were
out the different levels.
weaving in and out of some laughter and something. I got off the phone and I was invigorated. I was like, man, that was fun. I got a lot of shit off my chest.
See, there you go.
Like 40 plus years of stuff, you know?
I love it. And that's just like that's the healing journey. I feel like I sit down and talk to my 80-plus-year-old mom, and we still rant, have things that come up, and we got to navigate stuff. And I'll be like, I cannot believe you just said that, Mom. Oh yeah, I said I wouldn't say that again. Yeah, that's just keep trying.
Still time.
There's still time. There's still time. At least she knew. Yeah, that's a big deal. Okay. Maybe I need to go down here. Get back to that. This does have a lot of things on here. We've kind of now navigated through what respect, toxic, hurt feelings. Again, this is a lifelong journey. This can be really confusing. And what is most confusing is probably somebody like me coming in and telling you respect, toxic, and hurt feelings. Because I don't know, context means everything. It means everything. If my loved one is in the hospital and they are at a level 8 pain and they are being so cruel to me over a period of time of like 2 or 3 weeks, and they are healing and it is awful and it is hard, that is not necessarily a toxic relationship, guys. It's a defined that way, but they are healing and they're working it out. That's a different, that you have to take context into this. You have to think about the situation. That person that is healing, they're not navigating their pain well, okay? And do I love them any less? No, no. That's a particular context situation, right? But if I am in a relationship where somebody is not respecting me and they are criticizing that I didn't get my nails painted, or they're telling me what kind of clothes to wear, or they're saying that I didn't stand up straight enough, or they're trying to like tell you when or when not to what to do, or they're like separating you from other people. And over time, it's not just one thing, and then they're not responding to anything that you say as far as that's not okay with me. That is a toxic relationship. That is literal abuse. It's abusive. So there's lots of different definitions of this. It can be like a very one-time thing that creates a toxic thing. It can be an over time. My people in my life, a lot of people don't like the word gaslighting. Gaslighting is confusing because the gaslighter in his story was just like the dude in London that went around and lit the lamps. I have a hard time not walking. You lit lamps, like, or, I don't know how many females lit lamps. They might have been, gaslighting. But yeah, so like the street lamps, because there was no electricity. So there was, that was somebody who did the lighting. Now, but this is real. So a lot of people get caught up in this term about this, but what this is, it's a line over time to actually try to get somebody to think that reality isn't reality. It is one of sometimes, this again, if you do this once in a while, I mean, kids can be really good at this. I didn't do that, Mom, Okay, yeah, it's one of those, like, they're learning, it's adolescence, like, we're working on it, yeah. But it's over time, and it becomes abusive with a degree and over time, and if the person isn't able to change their behavior. So that's also a form of being toxic. So let's say gaslighting would be, hey, don't you like my navy blue colored jacket? That's not navy blue. What are you talking about? Like, for real, like, no, that's not navy blue. And ongoing, you're crazy thinking that's navy blue. That's not navy blue. So that's one very small example of something that's toxic. Respect, though, we've talked about it. We've been talking about it all day. I use the smoking one because it's very like vivid, and it's physical and emotional and all the different things. It ruins your furniture. So there's all the different stuff. But really, and pardon me, if you smoke in your house, that's you. It's not me to judge you. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want you smoking mine. That's all. Okay. So the thing that it can become more nuanced in a situation where you're talking about, my boss was mean to me. How do I handle it? How do I get respect from my boss? I feel disrespected. And that's where that form of communication and self-awareness comes. The hurt feelings is more on that temporary side. Is my partner in the hospital for 3 weeks in pain being really mean? My feelings are getting hurt every day. And are they understanding what's happening, like, every single day, like, I'm in so much pain, I'm being such an a-hole, I'm sorry. Okay, that's a little hope there. And they get home and they're like, I realized that was a horrible situation, I was awful to you, I apologize. Okay, my feelings might have been hurt over a 3-week period. I'm forgiving that situation. That's a forgivable situation. They're working on it to be a better human, and could they have more skills? Probably, but I put a Roblox reference in here. Anybody play Roblox in here? Yeah. I like watching it. It's kind of fun if you haven't watched it. There's like all kinds of things going on there. That can be a toxic environment too, though. Speaking of which, but the spaces there are, can we resolve this hurt feelings? Can we work it out? Can we move forward? And is a person willing to listen and change? Are you willing to change the way that you text? Are you willing to, have respect for me? I've explained to you how to be respectful. This is how are you willing to try to work with me in that space? So this is a little bit more on, hey, respect in your relationship. Don't focus on the negative. Don't ignore your partner. Don't give to an ultimatum, or don't give an ultimatum, like all or nothing. I'll give an ultimatum when it comes to some of my boundaries. So this is like there's some navigation in here, but shaming your partner just doesn't work. Shaming ourselves doesn't really work always, but to be honest, so what's respect look like? Being honest, respecting each other, which is funny because they just use respect to define respect. This happens all the time in the world, doesn't it? I mean, come on, you gotta actually, what is it to be respectful? Well, it means that I'm working with you to ensure I don't hurt you, and you're doing the same for me.
Positive communication.
Exactly. And positive
What did she say?
She said
What'd she-
positive communication.
Okay.
Positive communication. And I'm going to invite you to incorporate some good tidbits here. Positive communication includes boundary setting and conflict resolution. Broaden it out. Positive communication includes the whole realm of ensuring you have a respectful relationship and people know who you are. It's positive doesn't necessarily mean it's always comfortable. Okay? Positive often means it's uncomfortable because you are actually being vulnerable and doing scary things.
not acknowledging it.
Tell me more. Even so, but the question is, even if you're not acknowledging it.
Like, if you are like you said, if I like have a conversation that I don't know makes the person, uncomfortable in a certain way, and they think, and without acknowledging it, like, you cannot tell if they're like, uncomfortable.
You mean this other person that you're speaking with?
Yes,
Ooh, excellent. Ask.
well,
Yeah.
are you uncomfortable? Yes.
Does that make you, you could be very, what I said, did that make you uncomfortable? If it did, how could I do it differently?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. That way you're learning about each other. And you could even invite the same space if, if I feel uncomfortable with something you have said, how would you like me to communicate that with you? Would you prefer me to write you a note? Would you prefer me to text you? Would you prefer me to speak it out loud? That made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
How would you like to have that spoken to you too? So that there's both sides of that space being communicated.
For me, like, just tell you, like, even if without words, like, say, like, in a conversation, you notice your facial expression changes.
Yeah.
I think what she's saying is that she has a difficulty understanding how they're interpreting the conversation.
Okay.
And so I think that's what she's worried about. She's worried about being judged all the time.
Okay, so the worry is being judged all the time and having concern for how is this person interpreting the conversation? Are they comfortable, not uncomfortable? What do they think of me? And how are they interpreting what's going on? And I keep going back down to the space of just keep asking. Just keep asking. Yeah, eventually you're going to learn that person more and you're going to keep that dialogue open. It's very hard, I know, but also there's many times it's hard to ask for what we need as humans for any of us, okay, like any one of us, but being able, it's another one of those things where you're opening yourself up with some, I need more understanding. You're actually in that question, I don't necessarily understand the situation. I'd like to know more of how I'm communicating with you. Are you comfortable with that communication? How I'm speaking this, is this comfortable? Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Oh, see, there you go. And actually, that's a perfect example that we just demonstrated. So thank you for that, because yay. Yes, you did. That's exactly what we're talking about. Beautiful. Yes. 3 minutes, guys. Okay, you will have you will have all of this available to you, okay? I just want you to know that we're just kind of guiding through here. There's lots of spaces in here of, hey, how do we build safety? In a preference of 3 minutes, do you want me to roll through the slides that are here really quick, or do you want me to just keep it? No.
So I was thinking as I was sitting here and listening, because this conversation has been so engaging, that I think maybe we skipped the intimacy part this time, and if we could have you back and maybe do a Zoom.
As many
with all
times,
Of the people.
as many
who
times I'm here.
are interested and can speak solely to intimacy of those boundaries and what that looks like.
Of
And
that.
that would be amazing, because this has been great for communication, which is also so important.
I had a
So-
feeling.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be really great. So maybe
And-
we'll keep it to just communication and all of those.
I would love that.
Okay.
I would love that. And honestly, this is a space that I'm just going to offer all of you that if you were wanting me to do this once a quarter or something on different spaces, I would love that. Or however that might be, whatever you think is beneficial to you as having these dialogues, or if there's a certain like, hey, how the heck do we do, or like, what's the answers here, and who in the community can help with us? And in your community down in Vegas too, I know a lot of resources down there. So, or in your rurals, wherever you might be coming from. Anyway, but yeah,
This is
thank you.
This is Kamala. I love that idea, and I mean there are pieces. What we've talked about. There's so much of that can be chunked into just one presentation. So
Oh my-
yeah, I love that.
literally every single slide probably has a presentation or 3 or 4 in it. So, I mean, when I say it's a lifelong journey, it really, really is, but great. So thank you so much for, really, thank you. And thank you for your willingness to talk with me and be open and everything. I love being here, so thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, but before that, Anna was talking about us parents letting go, which I find very difficult. And last night we just watched a movie, The Peanut Butter Falcon, and talk about letting go. If you have not seen it, you need to watch it. We get in patterns as parents, me included, until someone says, why are you doing that? Right? And this movie is all about, why are you doing that? Right? She can put her own shirt on, so I encourage everybody watching it if they have a few minutes. And I have one, that's okay. I'll share this stuff at the end. Go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and Mary and Kaylin will come back and speak to us about real life examples of boundaries and all of that. Welcome back, everyone.
No, I mean,
You're good. We have Mary and Kaylin with us, and Kaylin has been part of our community for almost 30 years now.
Exactly.
Yep, 30th birthday's coming. And
Yes.
she has lots of good information for us
I
on
do.
boundaries and relationships and all the things.
Exactly.
Take it over.
Okay, wait, now I lost those questions.
Oh. You want me to screenshot and text you?
Just tell them. Sorry.
All right, keep looking.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first one, Kaylin, I think the first one was, what kind of relationships do you currently have in your life that are special to you? Okay, I'll find that.
Yes. I'll zero down one first. So my experiment is kind of different. So I'm gonna name some the relationships that I had recently dated. And so then I use a date. I'm gonna name few people that I know. So the people I use a date is Ryan, which me and him are currently it's like so we're dating the past few years. And we Austin, so it was Austin I currently dated, but it was not currently when I was like so it's like a secret relationship.
A while ago.
So yeah, so it's like a while ago before. And I have so my ex-boyfriend is not how to see myself in that situation here. And it's not helping for me. And how is that person that makes you feel if they want to make this decision clearly in the safer in the right direction? And you can help tell the person or help another or they just want to make this work. And that's what I see myself. And another woman I'm mentioning this is Michaela. So, and that's not connect with me. And how's the person feels and they help tell another. And so let's know that if the partner doesn't want to be in this relationship. So my experience for her about her, if she's going to say those names, and that's not healthy, right? If they want to keep the person and help to tell another to make decision clearly, and how is the person to feel in the same wide way, how is the person feels, right? If they can help tell another, how is the person feels, how supposed to be move on if the person is saying those names about me, not someone not calling you babe, right? For example, for in Michaela, so for her, she cannot say those names. If she wants to move on and help to another, and how does that person makes it feel? if the person wants to move on. And my experience for her about her, she cannot say those words, but she is with this guy. Why, so if the person feels if she's gonna keep saying those words, which is not very healthy, it was kind of unhealthy. And how to tell another, how does that person feel? Right, and that's my experience, how it looks like.
So Kaylin's had, two, like relationships I would call like big relationships. One with Scotty, she was engaged to him.
Yeah, I was before.
Yeah, and then she was more recently involved with Michaela, who was her roommate when she was in college.
And I was
And
in
they've
Leonard.
been really good friends.
Yes,
And
and
then
we
it became
girls
romantic.
went together
Yeah.
and helped one another. So I don't think I can keep this feeling at all. And that's not how I see it.
Right, so people with intellectual disabilities or anything, have the same kind of experiences, right? You fall in love and
Yeah, you fall in
get
love
hurt.
and wake up or take advantage of someone, that is not healthy at all. And that's not doing the relationship.
what are some of the things that you and your partner or best friend like to do when you're together?
Well, sometimes, when the person wants to have communicating. So you have to communicate that the person that loves you. So you can be trusted or you can be responsible and be honest without lying. So who's that made the person feel, made the decision clear? And that's how it looks like to me.
What does a good relationship look like for you?
So, for example, I have those support staff person like aides, like Alicia Blood. So they encourage me how to esteem myself and speak out. So that makes person feel like that you have to do this, you have to take care of yourself. And that's what my experience now.
What kind of things do you like to do? What kind of activities when you have a good friend or a romantic partner?
Well, I think it's just my experience for Mary. So she wants to make sure that so I can have my whole life. So I know the person who can make the decision clearly and tell another, or that this really didn't make this work. And so I mentioned this to my father, so he was encouraged me to have that experiment. But why I have this feeling. And that's what it looks like.
So we always have encouraged her to, have friendships, and that's, I'm sure we all know, that's like one of the hardest things is just natural friendships.
Mhm.
But, Kaylin has had a few romantic things, but it's hard like it is for anyone when those things don't work out, and it's, we had some thoughts that maybe that wouldn't work out with Michaela, just because she's kind of fickle, and that she's a wonderful young woman, but she goes through a lot of people. And,
Yeah,
just
she
that-
keeps on doing that.
yeah, so, but that's something that, we tried to understand at the beginning, just to be prepared, but,
Right.
yeah, but it still hurts.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really hard as a parent to I feel like I'm taking a risk because she's taking a risk,
Mhm.
And that's always hard. And she's had
Right.
bad things happen to her.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so as a parent, you want to give them as much freedom as possible and let them be their own person. But you also want to protect them because we know they're a little more vulnerable than most.
Mhm.
So Kaylin, may I ask a question?
Yep.
So let's use Michaela as an example.
Okay,
I'm
good.
gonna come closer to this.
Yeah,
microphone.
let's use her.
Okay, all right. Poor Michaela, but here I go.
Okay, go.
Okay, we'll use Michaela as an example.
Yes, go ahead.
How did you set that boundary when you felt like maybe things weren't going how you were hoping?
So for her, I think so. It was like, you're gonna handle this feeling, right? So if she was doing, calling names, which is not healthy for us, for me, and it's not making no sense. And that's why, if she's gonna keep on doing this again, yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna keep this up. And that makes it, hard, respectful, and you cannot lie to the person. You have to be honest.
And did you tell her these things?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
to tell
good.
her these things.
Yep.
Yeah, for her, so she's like, she cannot call me babe at all, so she cannot say that, or she cannot say, that I have to move on to this guy named Sammy, right? And she cannot say that to me. It has to make the person feel if they have to move on. So I don't think I can keep this feeling anymore
And was
away from
that,
her.
was that really hard for you?
Yeah, it was, but so sometimes I delete all her texts, all her phone calls, will she FaceTime me? But sometimes she'll come in sexy, but I don't think it's not good work.
And, it was hard because they were like best friends before. So that's,
Mhm.
you know, and I think Michaela feels like they can just go back to that. And, but it's really hurtful for Kayla.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to see this coming.
Right.
And so if she's gonna keep on doing this for her, me and her are recently not dating anymore, and now she moved on. But now I'm not sure I'm gonna keep the decision. So I don't think this is clear to me at all. So I'm still upset about for her. So if she's gonna keep on doing this, I'm not sure gonna keep this feeling. That's kind of hurtful. Like not saying the words like saying the word babe, right? So she cannot say that word. So I'm not sure she's gonna keep this away from me. Yeah, if it's like she's hiding something from me, it's not good. So it's like lying to someone who's not special, not not to me the same right way, because I don't deserve that, and that's kind of hurtful. And that's kind of heartbreaking for me.
Kaylin has been able to like, identify the feelings she's having, which is really good, because a lot of us can't do that very well.
Right, right.
But yeah, so she's working through it.
Yeah, I am. I'm making progress out of it.
That's so great.
Yes.
I have a question, just because I have a lot of clients that I've had since they were little, and then they grew up, and then I'm seeing some of them again. And if at this point, and especially after COVID and everything, it's difficult for them to find groups of friends and to
Mhm.
develop groups of friends. So I'm wondering if you've experienced that, and if so, how do you handle some of that?
So in my life it was if you tell the person that you're in love with, it's like you're connected to a person. I have to tell another. I have to make the person feel it made me decision. And that's so for everyone that should say they cannot say the person whose feelings are changing. To listen to the people are using feelings like being honest, but you cannot lie to the person if someone's lied to someone, and that's not being honest, and that's not healthy, and that doesn't make no sense. So it's not the same way.
Right, so, but what she wanted to know is, when you, like during COVID, you couldn't go anywhere and do anything fun.
Well,
And
that's
so-
that's what I'm saying.
Right, so how do you think you can find friends to hang out with?
Well, I can make friends like so you can find them over, like so like I'll send a word I find Lexi. So she lives 3 doors down, and she lives in the same apartment as Nova. So I sometimes I buy her like pizza or popcorn or dinner, and that's what it's kind of looks like having this relationship with her.
So just
Not
kind of,
romantic, just kind of be friends having hang out with friends, and that's what it looks like. That's kind of how to see yourself in a white way, in the heaven way.
Thank you.
That's good, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you were touching on it, and you have been this entire time. I would love to know more about the balance in there between the two of you of that protection and letting go, and how you navigate the definition of safety in your own relationship with each other, but also like how do you help that for each other? Okay,
Like
that-
us?
Yeah, like how, because it's like how you navigate it with each other, but to help with the whole world. Yeah, that's
Right.
there's a lot that it's that.
Yeah.
It
a
is.
lot.
As a parent, you know, I've always tried to help her be independent and to really supported her in going to college and living on her own. But that's real hard because, you know, she's had bad things happen to her. I think pretty much everyone here knows that she was sexually assaulted.
I don't know if
And-
everyone knows that. Yeah,
Okay, well, she was sexually assaulted, and is that okay?
I can say, I can say it.
Okay. And so that really, you know, I was like, I didn't want to ever let her out of my sight again.
No.
But like a week after, she was like, I gotta find a new place to live.
Exactly.
She was
I
living
have
in
no place to live at all, and so that's not me.
Yeah. So she loves living on her own. But also as a parent, it's, you know, we've seen some decline in the way she's taking care of herself. And so she, as of yesterday, is staying with us for a while. We need to like sharpen up her skills, right?
Why? So I have my morning routine and see what I'm doing.
Right.
So that's what it looks like.
So she's gonna stay with us for a while. We're gonna really practice all the routines to keep in her apartment. Because we don't wanna give that up. It's too nice.
Yeah, it's just way too nice. We have 2 pools, we got 2 hot tubs, so something need to do it.
And it's not expensive. That's the best thing.
No, it's not.
So yeah, so. You know, it's constantly trying to explain things back and forth. I mean, like, you were not happy about staying with us.
Why? Because I was not happy last night.
She was not happy.
We're glad you came this morning.
Yes. Yes. So it's always I think with any parents and adult children, it's a struggle, you know, it's something we always have to work at.
Mhm.
And we really were trying to explain to her why she was moving in with us, you know, that we still want her to be independent, but we have to make sure that she's healthy while she's doing it. And so she's just coming with us for a while to set up her routines better again. And,
Let's go back in the water shape and see how I'm doing.
right. And she's gonna go to her apartment and with her care provider and, you know, really straighten everything up and go through everything and clean out the drawers so that when she moves back in, everything is where it should be.
Fresh start.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so,
To see myself what I'm doing.
so that, you know, this kind of relationship too is just, communication is so important.
Yeah,
And
it
how
is.
do you communicate? Instead of going,
Yeah, I got so freaked out, so I was very late, so I was like, cannot do anything. So I was like, I got so weak, so that's not how I see myself, and that's not being respectful. So you had to be honest, respectful, and you had to be honest. And you cannot lie to the person.
right,
Or you lie to yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just can be near the sweet, and that's not safe, and that's not how I see it.
Yep.
And that gives this feeling.
any other questions?
Any questions for me?
Any tips for when you are in conflict with each other? What have you found that works well to work through that conflict?
With you and me.
With her.
Yeah, and your dad,
Yeah.
your sister maybe.
Okay, so my experience for Mary, so I'm gonna take her as my example. Okay? I'm just going to use her example.
Yes.
For now. So my relationship with her is, I know she wants to see myself how I'm seeing what I'm supposed to do. I'll just kind of be a normal person. So that way I can see myself what I'm supposed to do. If I want to do this way. So I can see myself what I'm supposed to do. So what I do is just stop and just kind of breathe, just kind of relax. So my depression and anxiety is kind of different sign.
Do you think your mom gives you more anxiety?
No, she doesn't do that.
Oh,
Okay.
good, good. Ooh.
Yeah, so
I
I
want
went
the
to
answers.
doctor in LA. So this doctor I'm seeing was Jonathan, right? So I had to go through all the testing. So I was in really painful. Well, it says I have a lumbar puncture. It was for me was not that when I had mine. I got so weak that I could not stand. I can't talk, and that's so I can't do anything like that because I was so painful.
Oh,
So how is it when
When
you and
I
I
have
did, no, when you and I disagree on things, what do we do?
We had to make it up and not lie to each other,
Right.
and that's how we don't want that to happen, right? So I used to go to dance class, okay, but if someone's knocking at your door and not knocking, not answering your phone, not answering. So she's been waiting in the car for 10, 20 minutes. Yeah, I cannot do that.
Mom was mad, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't not talking.
so you took a breath, then you didn't talk for a little bit, so, and then you
Yeah,
talked about it
exactly.
later.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we have made it up. So we're talking this out to see how we feel about this. So I want to keep this feeling from her was married. So I think she's like want to see her daughter want to do this way. Yeah, I had to keep this feeling alive.
Mhm.
So I'm still alive at the age of 29 because I've been dirty in the hour. So it's kind of into it. So yeah, for marriage, so she's like a mom, a role model.
Just like a
So-
mom.
That's true.
Yeah, I just had two to me. So her
Yeah.
relationship with me is like one of daughter relationship. So I like to spend time with her. So one, we do the same way I'm supposed to do, not to me what to do. And that's what my experience for her.
Mm.
So she is saying where I have to keep this relationship with her. So she's like inspiration. Yeah, going to deal with this without her.
Oh.
Yeah, come in the but she's like, no. And
She's
that's
my
how I-
inspiration too.
Exactly. And so yeah, and that's how I feel about C.
Hmm. Well, thank you both. Anyone have any more questions?
You know what?
No more. All right.
Okay.
Well, Grace had a question.
Okay.
No, I was just.
Oh,
like,
pointing.
Sure that she got a question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. A couple of things. I was just contacted by these two BCBAs in town who are starting a social group for all of our loved ones. So I am going to email you all that information. This woman I spoke to was just amazing and super inclusive. They talk about all of these things. So I will send everybody all of that information. Oh, you put the QR code. Yeah, we're going to share a QR code. We'd like to make sure that we're really getting you all the information that you need. If you can fill out this 1.5 minute survey, that would be helpful. So we know that we're serving
The
you all
survey is
well.
down at the bottom, the other QR codes for the next workshop.
Survey is down at the bottom. The QR code above is for our next workshop, which is December 7th on financial literacy and wellness. And that will all be on Zoom. But that's going to be all about how to manage SSI and bank accounts and you know, how to really help our loved ones come along with, you know, managing their own finances along the way.
I need that class.
I know.
I need it.
It's gonna be a good one,
Me too.
for sure.
Every month.
And
Me too.
on top of that, we now will have another Zoom with Anna, so we'll let you know when that will happen. I'll send a follow-up email with a lot of resources that I was jotting down today as Anna was talking. And we are planning a transition summit in April of 2025. It'll either be the 19th or the 26th. We're still working out the date and location, but I'll get that information out to everybody as soon as possible. Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you at the next workshop.